Welcome to the Minority Report on the Global Current. On this week's show, we first take you to Italy, where soccer hooliganism is on the rise. And then, Iraq, where another helicopter was shot down this week.
Good morning, this is Rachel Corrigan, and I'm going to be talking to you today about hooliganism in Italian soccer. Italian officials shocked the world last week by banning all soccer matches for an indefinite period of time. The decision was announced last Friday after a policeman was killed during a riot at a game in Sicily. The Italian Football Federation responded to the violence by issuing a ban on all of Italy's top league's matches. The federation also refused to discuss any future prospects until after the policeman's funeral on Wednesday. Government officials then threatened to bar fans from attending matches until stadiums met required safety standards. Italian Prime Minister Romano Prodi said he feels obligated to send a strong, clear message to avoid further degeneration of the sport. The safety requirements for stadiums include having entrance turnstiles, video surveillance, and stewards to control seating. Currently, only a handful of stadiums meet these conditions. Police attempts to quell the violence using tear gas resulted in a suspension of play for 30 minutes. ANSA news agency reports that the fights broke out because Palermo fans could not get into the stadium until the second half. After the game, fans continued to fight with police outside the grounds. According to Italian Interior Minister Giuliano Amato, 34 people were arrested following the rioting and are suspected of violence against public officials and vandalism. None of those arrested are believed to be responsible for Raciti's death. Following Raciti's funeral, cabinet members approved a set of measures which will allow the reopening of only those stadiums who meet security requirements. Although matches scheduled for the upcoming weekend will be allowed to continue, several stadiums who do not meet safety standards will not be allowed to admit any fans. Throughout its history, the sport of soccer has been plagued with problems associated with hooliganism. The issue currently affecting Italy was a major problem in England during the 1970s and 80s. Authorities improved the situation in England through reforming stadium structure, security, and ticketing. Current England coach Steve McClaren has encouraged Italian authorities to follow the English example in combating hooliganism. Already?
Yep, go ahead.
Alright. Soccer-related violence is much more of a problem in the rest of the world than in America, where teams are not associated with politics or religion. In Europe and elsewhere, soccer teams are often highly politicized or can become symbols of religious identity. This undoubtedly adds a more powerful emotional element to the game. Increased instances of violence are a product of this emotion. According to the Guardian Unlimited newspaper, Americans tend to romanticize the notion of the hooligan and see it mainly as a European problem. This newspaper suggests that American criticisms of European hooliganism are the pot calling the kettle black, since the United States has serious problems of its own. One prominent case of sports-related violence in the U.S. occurred after the 2004 World Series. Following the game, one female student was killed during riots in Boston. Recent measures by the Italian government have had and will continue to have an impact outside of Italy. A match scheduled between Italy and Romania for Wednesday in Siena was cancelled. Future Champions League matches between Italian and other European teams could also be affected. Acceptance of the government's actions among the Italian people is mixed. According to a poll of more than 13,000 people conducted by La Repubblica, 70% of Italians think that soccer matches should be halted for at least a year. The absence of fans at matches would create a completely different atmosphere for the sport. Paolo Maldini, captain of the Italian team AC Milan, said that closing down stadiums is not the way to eradicate hooliganism, and taking such measures would lead to the death of the sport in Italy. An official of Sampdoria, another team, estimates the losses resulting from suspending a single game would be around 6.3 million euros. Recent outbreaks of violence are undoubtedly another significant blow to a league still recovering from a cheating scandal last season. The current crisis in Italy will continue to threaten the reputation of the world's most popular sport.